for the first time on the Young Turks, and as O'Reilly would say, a worldwide exclusive. Cindy Sheehan. Cindy, welcome to the Young Turks. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. It's nice to be on.
Cindy, you are running against Nancy Pelosi in California.
Right.
Now, before we get into the specifics of that race, I saw an article in the New York Times that I want to run by you real quick. The headline is, Democrats set to defy Bush on war bill. How do you feel about that, and how hard does that make you laugh?
Well, I actually read that article, and I just wrote my own article in response to it. How do you defy the president by giving him more money than he asked for to continue the legal and immoral occupation? You know, he has said over and over again, and he's proven that he would do it, he will veto any bill that has a timeline or funding for the vets or funding for food stamps or extending unemployment benefits. So what they're just doing is wasting everybody's time. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 12 of the Constitution says that Congress has the power to fund wars and armies. And Nancy Pelosi is not using her power in a moral way. She's using it in a political way. And with people dying and a country being destroyed, and our own country basically being destroyed, to me, she should use her power and just tell George Bush, you have enough money, start bringing our troops home.
But Cindy, to be fair to her, she's running up against a juggernaut. This guy's at 28% approval rating and a 71% disapproval rating. How could they possibly challenge him? Wouldn't it be political suicide to challenge the most unpopular president in the history of the United States of America?
I actually, of course, all kidding and sarcasm aside, I think that this is what America's waiting for. America is waiting for some leadership. America is waiting for the democratically elected and Democratic Congress to stand up to Mr. whatever percentage he is now, 22% approval rating. I think that we elected them to end the war and to hold George Bush and Dick Cheney accountable, and they haven't done either one. So people say that the Democrats don't have any spine. I think that for the most part they know exactly what they're doing, and they're playing political chess games with our flesh and blood and with the people of Iraq, and I think that that's abominable.
Cindy, I want to ask you two important things there. One is, what do you think their intent is? I mean, do you think that they have bad intent, somebody like Nancy Pelosi or the rest of the Democratic leadership, and they think, oh, I want to keep this war going, but for political reasons I'm going to pretend to be against it so I can get more votes? Or do you believe that they have the right intent? If it was up to them, they would end the war, except they're afraid that it'll cost them their political life, so they're selfish, and they don't want to risk their political career?
Like you said, the statistics and the polls don't support that reasoning, and we do have some very courageous anti-war Democrats like Barbara Lee and Lynn Woolsey and Dennis Kucinich and Maxine Waters who are devastated over this funding bill that Nancy Pelosi calls guns for butter. And I think that it is their political will to keep it going through the elections, thinking that that is going to gain them more seats in Congress or gain them the presidency. And, John Conyers told me himself. John Conyers told me it's more important for him to get a Democrat in the White House than to exercise his constitutionally mandated authority of impeachment.
Now, but they would say, Cindy, that they want to get a Democrat in the White House so they can affect real change, and that the presidency has tremendous power, and that without getting the presidency, it's so much harder to accomplish even your objectives. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that they have the power now. I think that there are enumerated powers in the Constitution, and for the last almost 8 years, Congress has steadily allowed George Bush to erode their constitutional powers, and if necessary, their power is to be a check and balance on the executive branch, and they want to tie a timeline of December 2009 to this funding bill, and that means that we're going to have at least 1,000 more of our soldiers die, tens of thousands of Iraqis, their lives being destroyed, and that's not acceptable. They
Cindy,
should be doing everything that they can right now to end the war. And one of Nancy Pelosi's powers is to withhold the money for the war. And another one of her powers is to allow impeachment proceedings to go forward, because if she gives George Bush $138 billion more dollars, and if she doesn't check his power, they have basically a green light for an invasion of Iran. It's not acceptable.
Cindy, you know, some people would say, if you look at it, they're actually playing the politics rather well, because they do have Bush at anywhere between 28 and 19% approval rating. The chance of a Democrat winning the presidency and large majorities in the House and the Senate are very likely in 2008, and that when we do get those majorities in that president, that we will have real change, and that we will not invade Iran, and that we will get out of Iraq. Can you see that point? Do you think it has any legitimacy, or do you think all of that is also a fraud?
There's still 8 months left of George Bush's presidency.
No, I understand that. And I fight against that every day.
What can he do in the 8 months that he's still in power, him and Dick Cheney? And I would go with my, future colleagues of like Lynn Woolsey and the other people I mentioned, that the time is now. You know what? When you talk about you're playing a political game, you're playing a political game with somebody's child. And no, that's not acceptable.
Right. We're talking to Cindy Sheehan. She is running for Congress against Nancy Pelosi. Of course, she's a very famous peace activist. Her son died during the war. And her website, by the way, is cindyforcongress.org, cindyforcongress.org. Cindy, let's talk about how this would play out legislatively. Let's say you were in charge instead of Nancy Pelosi, and what would you do to stop the war? Let's start there, and then we'll work our way forward. What would you do?
First of all, I would allow the Judiciary Committee to do its job of introducing and prosecuting articles of impeachment against George Bush and Dick Cheney. And then I would tell the president, because, Nancy Pelosi likes to place blame on everybody else except for the Democratic leadership. She likes to blame the Republicans, the Blue Dog Democrats, incredibly the people of Iraq, and the president, where when she funds the war, she is complicit, explicitly complicit in what is going on. So she should tell George Bush, and I would do it if I was in her position, you have plenty of money to start bringing our troops home. Congress is not appropriating another penny. And then if George Bush illegally continues the war, then yes, then she could say it's George Bush's war. Right. We're borrowing from our children and our grandchildren's future for this. Our dollar is being devalued. Our economy is crumbling. And the way to solve that is to end the occupations that we're borrowing $16 billion a month from places like Saudi Arabia and China. And we need to cut back on our Pentagon budget, which just sucks the life out of our communities and our families, literally sucks the life out of my family. And we need to start solving our problems here at home instead of continuing these illegal wars of aggression. And the longer we wait, the worse it becomes and the more mired we become in the Middle East. And that's why we need a solution right now, a courageous solution, a solution with integrity, a solution taking into account that people's lives are being destroyed while they're, doing all this political dance that they're doing. And
right, but
the thing
Cindy,
is, it's not their lives that are being harmed.
And I agree with your goals, and I think I even agree with your tactics. But I want to flesh it out a little bit more. So you say you have you have enough money to start bringing the troops home. I'm not going to give you any more money. And Congress can do that, and they're choosing not to do that. But the problem is that you're dealing with a very unreasonable man in George W. Bush. I mean, he got to be this unpopular because he's that unreasonable. And he got to be the worst president in American history by insisting on doing the wrong thing over and over. So there's some chance that Bush will not budge, and he will just simply keep the troops there. Now, if the money runs out and Bush kept the troops there, then you're in a position where our troops literally don't have the money. Now, I don't think it would get to that, and I think you're right that Bush would have to blink, right? But what if he didn't? Then that's what I think the elected Democrats are scared to death of.
There's a lot of what ifs, and the Pentagon has not only does it have these supplemental budgets for the occupations of Iraq and Afghanistan, but they have their regular budgets too. The soldiers are going to get their pay. The soldiers are going to get their food. But it's very ironic that throughout this war, our troops have not gotten what they needed to survive. They haven't gotten what they needed to reintegrate back into society, where we find that 18 vets a day are committing suicide, and something like 6 or 7 of them are vets from this war. We want to create more heartache where it's not necessary. So I think that Congress has even a lower approval rating than George Bush.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to step up and do that. They need to reclaim the Constitution. They need to reclaim their powers. We need a clear division of powers again in this country, so where
Cindy,
Congress can truly be a check and balance. Where most of our we just found out also that many of our Congress members are invested in people who profit off of war. How can that be right?
I want to get to that in a second, but you say cutting off the funding for the troops. Has it been done before?
That was something that they were beginning to do in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. And then how did that resolve itself?
Well, we saw the occupation of Vietnam end.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that if you actually go ahead and go through the process of cutting off the funding for the war, then the president is left in a position where he doesn't have any choice. He has to start withdrawing the troops because he doesn't have the money for it anymore, and that they're just simply not doing that.
What's he going to do? Is he going to, have Halliburton and Exxon start paying for it?
Well, that's not a bad idea. So let's talk about what you just brought up there.
I actually think that they should start paying for the reconstruction of Iraq and for the reconstruction of our veterans.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what you were just saying. How are our democratically elected leaders benefiting from defense contractors, et cetera?
Well, many of them are invested, have personal investments in them. John Kerry being the member of Congress who has the most invested. Jane Harman, she's a very influential member of Congress, has a lot invested. Jack Murtha has a lot invested. And not if they don't have personal money invested, many of them get their campaigns financed through defense industries and, subsidiary industries that profit off of.
So, but do you think John Kerry is, not voting to cut off funding to the troops? I'm sorry, to the war. I can't believe I said that.
Right.
Because he's got money invested in defense countries. Do you think that's really affecting
if that's true or if it's not, doesn't it kind of lend some kind of suspicion to his motivations?
Well, it certainly has the problems of appearance of impropriety.
We need to get this kind of money out of politics so there won't be any hint of impropriety.
All right, finally, Cindy, people will make the argument against your run against Nancy Pelosi, and if you're interested in that, by the way, everybody check out cindyforcongress.org, and we have a link up to it on our website as well.
Thank you.
No problem. Cindy, people will say, hey, look, Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House, first woman Speaker of the House. We're finally getting somewhere, and now if we tear her down internally, that's a civil war within the Democratic Party, and that's only going to help the Republicans.
Well, actually, I'm running as an independent. I'm not in the Democratic Party, but I think that the two-party system should be challenged, and I'm challenged in a district where even if I split Nancy Pelosi's vote, there'd be no way a Republican would get in, and actually the Republican that's running against us is super weak. So I think that we need to challenge the system because it's not just the Republicans, it's the entire system, and the Democrats are part of it. And I think we need people in Congress who actually represent the people and not the vested interests.
All right, Cindy Sheehan,
okay,
peace activist, and now running for Congress in Nancy Pelosi's district. It's cindyforcongress.org. Thank you so much for joining us, Cindy. We really appreciate it.
It's great to be on. Thanks for the worldwide exclusive.
No problem. Thank you for coming
on.
on.
Hope to talk to you guys again soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye-bye.